Hi, Nathan. Welcome back to the Guidebook Greenroom. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not too bad, thank you. It's it's Easter, so
Mhm.
I don't know who does and does not celebrate it, but for me, it's a time of, I guess, slightly more chocolate intake than my normal week, and in a different shape. So it's exciting. But yeah, I'm not too bad. How has your week been? How are you?
I'm doing great. Before we started recording, I was talking about how sunburned I am. So I might stay in this weekend and just relax with friends and family. Um, Probably will not be running around doing the Easter egg hunts this year.
Fair
But
enough.
happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. As you may notice, I'm back in the office. And I think I wanted to pick your brain about remote work, coming back to office, just these things are on my mind lately. What do you
Well,
think?
I think it's good. I think, I've heard the bittersweet news about
Mm.
the Guidebook Raleigh office. Our last standing official office is coming to a close and having a bit of a send-off party. So, yeah, kind of how are you feeling about that change? How are you feeling about
Mhm.
that office coming to an end? You've been there for quite a long time. I've been there once, and it's a pretty cool office. I know that you've probably picked a wall where there's still a bit of something left on it because
Yes.
everyone's taken stuff. But how are you feeling
Well,
about it?
bittersweet is definitely the word. We are saying goodbye to our downtown Raleigh office space. It's the end of an era on this city block with the bank building and Red Hat and everything around us. Um, we established this office in 2014, actually. So it's crazy. We've had 11 years of amazing memories with amazing guidebookers. And also, it's hard to believe that it's already been half a decade since kind of the global adoption of remote work as a more standard practice. Of
Mm.
course, working remote or telecommuting has been a thing since forever, but we've all really leaned into it over the past few years. And you mentioned that Raleigh is the last one. So Guidebook closed Seoul, London, and San Francisco, like dedicated office spaces. And then I guess you've been taking advantage of co-working spaces every now and then. Um, while those of us here in North Carolina, there's a big handful of us in North Carolina. Very few of us actually come regularly and like use the office space. So it kind of makes sense that we're closing it down. Most folks are remote. What has your experience been like historically? Uh, do you normally work in an office? Has it been weird to work from home the past year or so?
Yeah, so I guess pre-COVID, I was in the office 5 days a week, like most people.
Hmm.
And then the obviously since I joined Guidebook, I've been remote. We do get together a day a week or kind of a day every other week in London, but I'm in Manchester, which is a 2 and a bit hour train, and that's not in sort of taking into consideration the bits either side. So it is far. But my last role, it was kind of hybrid. And if I could have my cake and eat it, um, I'd definitely go for like 2 days in the office, 3 days at home. I think there's something about in person that I really value, and I think is from, I guess, 5 years experience now, quite impossible to replicate in a virtual remote setting. Or it takes a lot more work and effort. And I think that is something that's missed, right? But like with everything, there's pros and cons, because I think there's things that you gain from working from home, not just at a personal level, but from a working standpoint that also kind of counters things out. But I do miss more and more, having been at home now predominantly for a while. I do miss more and more the in-person stuff. Like
Hmm.
I know tomorrow there's four of us in the EMEA team together in London, and we've got a specific meeting in that we want to do in person and that kind of stuff where we can really collaborate and bounce off one another. So at least we can kind of still dip our toe in. But I do think there's something about in person, which is why we love events, right? Because we always say
Right.
there's something about in-person connection at events. But it's true for, I guess, working together and many forms of human to human interaction.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think our personal experiences definitely inform our approach to our work and like we really understand the need for communication and engagement, you know, as people, and we want to help our clients achieve that as well. I wanted to dig into more about like being fully remote, being hybrid versus being fully in the office. Because for me, I went from my whole life working a job or when I was a teacher, like I'm in the classroom on my feet. When COVID hit, that was like a huge change for me of going from fully on site in the office all day, every day to fully being at home. And for our team, at least, we don't have like one day a week, or we didn't come up with a regular cadence for coming in and getting together. And like I wish we had. At first, working from home was this beautiful luxury of like no one's bothering me. I can do my laundry. I can like I'm eating so much healthier. I'm spending less money. We're not going out all the time. For me, I'm driving, right? So like the wear and tear on my vehicle and paying for gas and all that stuff. Working from home was just like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. I only have to dress from the top up. Like I can roll out of bed and just like get to my desk and sign on for the day. Uh, but yeah, over time, I definitely miss the connection, the spontaneity, the like random things that come up from in-person conversations that either might be meetings or might just be like passing in the hallway, whether it's just like jokes or like updates on personal life or an inspirational moment that helps you with your work or helps you untangle a problem you're trying to solve. And working from home, it's just you and your brain and that blank piece of paper. But at work, like that collaboration piece, or even just inspiration from something you overhear, can be really motivating. Um, what about the cons? Have you found, other than missing those interactions, are there any other cons that you think have emerged from working from home?
Yeah, I think there's a few. I think it actually can be slower to
Mm.
get things done. Especially it's when I think of like agility in a team, when you're together in person, and I don't know, I think of it from the perspective of the roles that I have and the teams that I work in, but it can be really slow to move fast on certain things
Mhm.
because you know, someone might just be really zoned out, focused on some work where they don't want the noise of Slack or email or whatever, and you don't see something until the end of your day or whatever, and that's totally fine and acceptable. But when you're in the office, you know, you can go and nudge someone, or you can a conversation's happening and it snowballs, and it actually kind of dictates the way in which you spend your day. So I think that is something that again is you can't replicate that virtually unless you're literally calling people's mobiles and being a pest, which I don't think is a healthy way to work either.
Right.
And then I also think like I think it can be incredibly lonely. I think I
Mhm.
find that maybe it's personality type, but there are days where you know you kind of just sat in your room or your office or wherever it is that you do your work, and time passes by and you sort of feel like you've had not a lot of social engagement or human to human engagement. And yeah, so I think like on a personal level, I think sometimes working from home can be quite a lonely experience. And depending on how you are, and I know how I am sometimes, I find that quite unmotivating.
Right.
I find I'm so energized by other people's energy. And that's something that you learn to balance or to mitigate, or hey, you just go downstairs and have a little bit of chocolate and make yourself feel better and come back up and try again. No, I don't know. I'm sure that's true for a lot of people, not just me. How about
Yeah,
you? Like, what cons do you see?
I think it definitely is an element of personality and also the nature of your work, right? So for like me, I'm actually faster when I work from home because I'm able to get in the zone and I'm not interrupted. Um, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a con, but just like challenges, right? Like you have to, I think, work more strategically when you're remote. Um, I need to make sure that before I just get in the zone and go off, like align expectations, clarify objectives, like make sure I have the information I need from the right people and say, okay, I'm going to structure my time. I'm going to go work on this and like let's have a check-in meeting at this time. because you don't
Mm.
have like the shoulder tap or the, hey, can you look at this flexibility like you do for in person? Or another con or challenge is like your relationship with your managers also, right? Like some people might have more visibility because you're doing stuff on digitally or in documents that are
Mm.
visible, or maybe you have less visibility just depending on the nature of your work and like who your manager is and what their work is as well. So you have to be like that much more purposeful in everything you do. And I feel like you were touching on this a little bit. Like, how do you avoid micromanagement, right?
Mm.
Uh, how do you trust your team as peers? And then how do those kind of vertical relationships, how do you nurture trust when you're not there? Seeing someone physically at their desk. And that of course begs the question is like, maybe I am more productive like in the hammock in my backyard,
Mm.
right? Or maybe I'm more productive with monitors and keyboards and the music and everything, like what that setup is. Uh, it all comes down to that productivity piece and the trust and communication element. So
Yeah.
one more thing that I would chat about in terms of a con of remote work, um, not just socially at work, but like the community around the office. I'm really feeling it when I come to downtown Raleigh because there are so many restaurants that closed,
Mm.
so many like happy hour, trivia, bar, hangout type places, or like a board game cafe that lost a lot of business and like they're still trying to come back or reopen elsewhere. Um, so also just the community around the
Mm.
working life also diminish and we have to work that much harder to like make sure we get dinner with our friends or make sure we um, support our favorite local businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely
absolutely.
hard.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point because I think you don't consider that, do you? And then you don't miss something until it's gone, and you kind of then sort of go, oh yeah, well maybe more and more people working outside of city centers is going to have an impact. I do think on the other side of that, that neighborhoods might become more, or hopefully become more vibrant, and there'd be more small
Mhm.
businesses in and around where people live, and you can walk out to places more. But I was thinking just kind of through this whole conversation and coming back to the Raleigh office and the people that are in it, do you think now that the office is closing, you'll make an effort to have a dinner once a month with colleagues, or because you're all going to have to kind of come into town now? Has anyone sort of spoken about like we should still try to get together socially or keep things up?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a conversation we're having of like, let's have game nights, let's have like working lunches. Like, um, it used to be easy, like you said, for us all to kind of congregate in downtown. And now it's like, well, some folks are over here, I'm down here, someone else is in a different town over. Where is that place that's equally comfortable and the accessibility piece is just that much harder. So yeah, we'll definitely some of us have talked about doing a game night for like maybe a year now. Well, we need to actually do
Yeah, well,
it.
maybe this will force it, right? This will kick things into motion.
Right, yeah. And I recently met up with some folks for lunch, or I'm coming in today and like specific people like we're getting together like, hey, let's work on this together, or let's go grab a bite to eat at this specific place together. Yeah, we're being more planful, which is great. I think that's
Mm,
that's always good. To kind of get the most out of your relationships and out of life experiences. So,
absolutely. And maybe, there's events that you can all get together at as well, right? Whether they're
yeah.
for work or for other fun things. You can use events as a great place for teams or friends or whoever getting together. So maybe that can kind of feed in nicely to the narrative of guidebook and events. And I think more and more people who work remote are looking at events as places to actually host their quarterly meetup or whatever it might
Mhm.
be. So I think that's maybe a plus and a positive for events.
That reminds me, current and former Guidebookers, don't forget to get your GalaxyCon tickets for the summer. Uh, is it too early to start planning for July? I don't think so, but I'll see you guys there. You should
I'd
fly in, come to
love
our
to.
local Comic Con and I don't know, buy some shiny dice or something. Uh,
I'd love to. If I wasn't going to have a maybe many week-year-old newborn
Hmm.
child, I'd be there. I don't know. Maybe she could fly with us.
Have we announced to the Guidebook Greenroom community that you're going to be a dad?
I don't think so.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
think so.
Everybody, Nathan's going to be a dad. Another whole conversation point about remote work, how to be a parent and juggle your career in office versus at home. We'll have to circle back and do like a round two of this conversation once you do have a baby, because I'm sure
Yeah.
everything you said is going to be like, I got to get out of here. I got to go to the office.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be all cons. No,
No.
it's all pros, and I think that is a pro of remote work. To be
Yeah.
able to be on hand to help and support, even for 10 minutes. That's something that I'm not even experiencing yet, but I really feel the value of. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm excited for you. And maybe some folks listening to this episode can chime in on the comments. What do you do or don't like about remote work? How is it working for you? Um, and what do you think is going to happen over the next year? Like, are we going to continue to have this flexibility? Is there going to be a push to return? Is it going to be a push to be even more remote? It depends on your industry,
Mm.
of course. It depends on what the nature of your work is. Um, but I'm curious how the landscape will shift. So.
Yeah. Don't ask Elon Musk his thoughts. Yeah. On anything.
Honestly, yeah, on anything. We'll leave that there.
Yeah.
Um, comment, like, and subscribe. Tell us what you think about Elon Musk. Um, no, well, I'm happy to see you, Nathan, even though it's virtually, and I'll see you next week in the green room.
See you next week. Have a good weekend.
You too. Happy
Bye.
Easter.
Happy Easter.